Everyone called me Belle. No last name, because slaves didn't have last names. Just Belle. By the time I was 16, I had been bought and sold by 4 masters. No one ever asked me if I wanted to be sold or bought. Slaves don't get asked.
For 17 years, Belle worked for the John J. Dumont family of New Paul's Landing, New York. Master Dumont married her to an old slave named Thomas, and together they had 5 children. Belle had worked hard for Master Dumont, and he promised he would set her free on July 4th, 1827. She was counting the days. But when the time came, he forgot his promise.
One day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair.
Somewhere in Des Moines or San Antonio, there's a young gay person who all of a sudden realizes that she or he is gay, knows that if the parents find out, they'll be tossed out of the house. The classmates would taunt the child, and the Anita Bryants and John Briggs are doing their bit on TV, and that child has several options. Staying in a closet, suicide, and then one day that child might open a paper and it says homosexual elected in San Francisco, and there are 2 new options. The option is to go to California, stay in San Antonio and fight. 2 days after I was elected, I got a phone call. The voice was quite young. It was from Altoona, Pennsylvania. And the person said, "Thanks. And you've got to let gay people so that that young child and the thousands and thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope for a better tomorrow. Without hope, not only gays, but those blacks, the Asians, the disabled, the seniors, the us's, without hope, the us's give up. I know that you cannot live on hope alone.
From watching what my mother and father went through when I was growing up, from what we experienced as migrant workers in California, that dream, that vision grew from my own experience with racism, with hope, with a desire to be treated fairly and to see my people treated as human beings and not as chattel. Later in the 50s, I experienced a different kind of exploitation. In San Jose, in Los Angeles, and in other urban communities, we, the Mexican-American people, were dominated by a majority that was Anglo. I began to realize what other minority people had discovered, that the only answer, the only hope was in organizing. We experienced some successes in voter registration, in politics, in battling racial discrimination. Successes in an era when political awareness among Hispanics was almost non-existent. How could we progress as a people, even if we lived in the cities, while the farm workers, men and women of our color, were condemned to a life without pride? How could we progress as a people while the farm workers who symbolize our history in this land were denied self-respect? How could our people believe that their children could become lawyers and doctors and judges and business people while this
"4 years ago, I stood before you and told you my story of the brief union between a young man from Kenya and a young woman from Kansas who weren't well off or well known, but shared a belief that in America their son could achieve whatever he put his mind to. It is that promise that's always set this country apart, that through hard work and sacrifice, each of us can pursue our individual dreams, but still come together as one American family to ensure that the next generation can pursue their dreams as well. That's why I stand here tonight, because for 232 years, at each moment when that promise was in jeopardy, ordinary men and women, students and soldiers, farmers and teachers, nurses and janitors, found the courage to keep it alive.